President, good afternoon. I want to welcome our new pages. They've been here all of 24 hours or so. Happy. I was talking with some of them earlier today, and they come from all over this country. And we welcome each of you and your colleagues. I understand they're with us for 3 weeks, and we wish it could be longer. Who knows? Maybe it will be. We'll see. Sometimes I'm here today to talk about healthcare. And that's a subject we talked a lot about, not just on this floor this week, this month, this year, but for years. And a lot of times when we talk about it, we seem to forget that this involves real people. People that live in our home states. They are moms and dads, their parents, their children, their grandparents, their aunts and uncles. They're young and they're old. They're people from different walks of life, but they're real people. And I want to talk today about one of them in just a minute. But I was privileged to be, and Delaware's a little state. I like to kid my colleagues. A lot of days in the week I visit all the counties in Delaware. We only have 3. And yesterday I got to go to all 3 of them. And in the southern part of our state is Sussex County, which is the 3rd largest county in America. I think it's something like 3,000 counties in America. And the 3rd largest is Sussex County, Delaware. And the county seat for Sussex County is a place called Georgetown. And yesterday, before I came over here yesterday afternoon to be here for the convening of the Senate, I stopped off and hosted a roundtable with about 20 patient advocates from organizations across the state of Delaware. We're in Georgetown, the county seat, and we're at a place called the Cheer Community Center, which is a gathering place for seniors in the southern part of our state. And a lot of good activities happen there for seniors from all over southern Delaware. But some of the organizations on the front lines of our healthcare system were there. And I'm just going to mention a couple of them. They include the Mental Health Association, the National Alliance on Mental Illness in Delaware, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, Autism Delaware was represented, the American Heart Association, Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, the Alzheimer's Association, and ATTAC Addiction explained, and they explained to me how. And they were like the medical society was represented. There were a bunch of others. And they explained to me and to others how the health care plan introduced here in the Senate in response to the Republican passed the health bill in the House. They, folks at our roundtable, explained to me how the new plan presented here several weeks ago would dramatically diminish their ability, the ability of those with whom I met, to care for the Delawareans that they serve. And during our roundtable, I heard directly from the representatives of these organizations, and we heard directly from patients. And these Delawareans shared with us just how devastating a repeal of the Affordable Care Act would be for themselves and for their families. One person's story stood out to me. A woman I've met before, her name is Jan White. She's pictured here with her husband, Mike. They live in Newark, which is at the other end of the state. And if you're ever driving up I-95 from Washington through Baltimore on up to the Delaware line, the first town that you come to in Delaware is Newark, where the University of Delaware is, and that's where they live. And Jan and her husband, Mike, are college sweethearts. They're going to celebrate this October their 30th wedding anniversary. And they run a successful small business in Delaware. Their business is involved with setting up meetings and running them and organizing and running special events. Together they have one child, a son named Ethan. And this September, Ethan will start his senior year at the University of Delaware, which is one of my alma maters. And I went to graduate school there at the end of the Vietnam War on the GI Bill. Wonderful school, and he's going to be a senior there this fall. Jan, depicted here with her husband, was doing everything that she was supposed to do to stay healthy. And she ate right. She exercised. In fact, she was studying martial arts, and I eat right too. I exercise almost every day of my life, and have almost since I headed to Pensacola, Florida, as an ensign, brand newly minted ensign in the Navy, and I still work out. And just like Jan, And one thing she's done I haven't, she has studied martial arts and achieved her third degree black belt. Did it a couple of years ago, April 2015. She also worked hard at their business, paid off, and helped to raise Ethan. Jan, Mike, and their son Ethan were living the American dream. But their lives were irrevocably changed in April 2016, a year after she'd earned her third degree black belt. And something happened, and what happened was Jan was diagnosed with an aggressive stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma that had invaded her chest and her spine. And she went from teaching kickboxing and studying for her fourth degree black belt to relying on a walker. Jan underwent over 5 months after that of intense chemotherapy. I'm told it was 102 continuous hours every 3 weeks. Think about that, 102 continuous hours of intense chemotherapy every 3 weeks. 2 injections into something called her, I think it's a cavity in our brain, but it's called Umaya, and 2 injections every 3 weeks for her spinal tumor. A high dosage of inpatient chemotherapy and a month of radiation. Jan was pronounced in remission earlier this year, thank God. And she desperately hopes to stay there. And our prayer is that she will. When Jan was sick, she and her husband Mike kept working. No quit on that team. Kept working at their business, although it certainly wasn't possible to keep up things. That business had the usual pace that they'd followed. But as Jan said, the bills don't stop just because you have cancer. And that's true. Today, she continues physical therapy, repair damage from spinal cord compression from the tumor and the chemotherapy for the spinal tumor. She continues this therapy even though her insurance-approved visits ran out a long time ago. Jan monitors daily for relapse, hoping and praying it won't happen. She and Mike have worked hard to keep their business doors open and to try to put their lives back together. The current debate in Washington over the Affordable Care Act makes Jan and Mike wonder if they will be able to afford the premiums that they face. Their current premiums now, not including deductibles, it's premiums, not including deductibles, not including out-of-patient expenses or denials, are double their mortgage payments. Jan told me that they wonder if they would have to forego Jan's medical care. They wonder if they would have to choose to pay for care and maybe put their family in bankruptcy. And what if the treatments didn't work? Most of us know that cancer is a hard battle. We know in my own family. My grandfather, his wife, others who fought cancer ultimately succumbed to it. But it's a hard battle. And Jan shouldn't have to fight for the chance to fight and survive. But that's what she's doing. And we're encouraged that she have better than a fighting chance. Jan and her family hope that those of us here in this body, in the Senate and our friends down the hall here in the House of Representatives, will do the right thing. We'll do the right thing. And that's why she's now involved with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society as a patient advocate, And it's up to those of us here in Washington to do the right thing by Jan. Not only do the right thing by her, but by the 1.2 million people who have blood cancer, including roughly 400 Delawareans, and the 50,000 cancer survivors who live in my state. We close by saying this. Last week, we had the 4th of July recess. This place was closed. And most of us were back in our states. I cover the state of Delaware almost every day. Saw thousands, probably tens of thousands of people during the course of that time. I'm amazed at how many people talk to me about healthcare legislation. And they called on us to do the right thing. The other thing they called on us to do was to work together. Any number of people said to me, this shouldn't be all Republicans trying to solve this, shouldn't be all Democrats trying to solve this. this should be us working together. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. I think we have a great opportunity right now to hit the pause button. Hit the pause button. And not retreat to our different corners around here, but to figure out how we can engage. To do three things with respect to the Affordable Care Act. Figure out what in the Affordable Care Act needs to be fixed. Let's fix it. Figure out what in the Affordable Care Act needs to be preserved. Let's preserve it. And if there's some provisions in it that should be dropped, well, let's figure that out and drop them. I was talking to one of my colleagues, a former Navy guy from Arizona over the other side of the aisle. And I came to Congress together in 1982. Served in the Navy together before that. And we're talking yesterday about a path forward for us. And we both said almost at the same time, what we should do is regular order.